I think he just had to highlight a couple of just how far he sort of evolved and how he sort of stuck to his guns of, you know, in terms of developing these principles, if you will, from then.
Yeah, and following certain ways of reflecting on yourself, it just, you can see in his life it had exponential benefits. That, okay, at the start he got off a bit slow, made some mistakes, etc., kept learning, and then, you know, by the time he's in his 70s, he's one of the richest people and most successful people in the world, you know. And he wasn't just born a genius. I'm sure he's really smart and all this other stuff, but it's these ability to, you know, keep learning that made him, that the growth trajectory he went on was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, he was a relentless,
pretty inspiring, really, isn't it?
Yeah, he was like relentless though, like relentless learner.
Yeah,
and I remember there was like when he was going through that phase of really building these like supermodels and things, as we sort of spoke about. He went through every single day of the market during the Great Depression. So you're talking 1930s, he's gone through every single day to look at the trends and the patterns and try and translate that into some sort of principle. Or
imagine if you put that effort into reflecting on what you do now or your particular industry or whatever. Like, no one does passion. That, you know? Yeah. It's
totally invested.
Yeah.
And
big picture thinking, you know. Yeah.
But totally into and
loved it.
Loves it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. Radical truth and transparency. Point 1. So he is just ridiculously honest at all times, basically, and develops relationships that are radically truthful to the point where I kind of feel like they're just being rude to one another. Probably it's that extreme. But he sees this as a massive.
But is it rude? You know what I mean? Like,
it depends how it's communicated.
Yeah,
I think
because he talks a lot about the ego as well.
Yeah,
and he talks about how we need to move beyond our egos.
Yeah,
and I think there's sort of a major development process that happens, particularly because these principles get applied across Bridgewater and Associates. There's sort of like what they call like an 18 to 24 month transition period into the company, just to get used to how it operates. And some people just simply never get there. Some people,
it's just not for them.
Yeah, it's not for them. They're one, I imagine the intensity of the work environment, but two, just how different it operates compared to your sort of traditional business.
Yeah. And I reckon the main takeaway here is that you need to be to get great outcomes, you've got to be able to have truthful conversations, and for people that just want to, I guess, know the truth, and to do that, you need to be having conversations that are really honest, so that you put your points of view across, willing to take on someone else's, and also take the ego out of it, like you said. If there's a surgeon and your mum, and you've got you need a triple bypass, who are you going to listen to more for advice? Your mum's going to tell you maybe rub a little bit of lemon on it. But you're going to trust the surgeon, aren't you? Because they're a doctor and they're studied. So not everyone's opinions are equal at all times. And he goes into great depth about how to talk to one another, how to actually, rate different people's opinions on things, believability weighting, he calls it. And the other part of it is that he's really transparent about the company. They record all meetings and make them
broadly available.
Broadly available to the company. They don't, I'm sure they do, but if you're talking about someone behind their back, that's not an acceptable thing to do there. You go and tell them to their face what the problem is. And that would be very confronting because it's quite the opposite of most places and human nature perhaps, but it produces awesome outcomes.
Yeah. He basically says that this is the policy that is critical for rapid learning and change. But, it certainly requires you to be vulnerable because you need to be, it's not just being truthful in, critiquing others, but it's being truthful with yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, seeing the truth for what it is and not seeing what you want to see. The
best operators do this and are able to get past this. Particularly, I agree. Seeing yourself in it is, it's very hard to see yourself objectively. But the people that try move forward, and everyone knows those people that are stuck in their own form of distorted reality, and they just stay at the same level because they're not willing to learn anything.
I had a couple of good quotes I wanted to read out, which I think ties back to that sort of getting in touch with yourself to enable this and to actually create value from it, which is, replace your attachment to always being right with the joy of learning what's true. So a lot of people pull back.
Yeah.
Or it'll trigger that sort of devilish ego inside to argue your point, to stand your ground. But don't worry about being right. It's more about the sort of pursuit and the joy of the learning that comes from whoever is right, whatever is right in that situation. And just the other one was, don't worry about looking good, worry about achieving your goal.
Oh, I like
it's very preachy, but very important.
It's not you. It's this beautiful, beautiful book. Point 2, pain plus reflection equals progress. That is something he talks about a lot, and it kind of comes from the first one. Once you're able to see yourself a bit better and you're noticing the world around you and you're talking in honest ways with people, you start to realize what you're doing wrong and it hurts. Right? Or something bad happens to you and you feel terrible about it, or you do the wrong thing or something like that. You're going to feel hurt. But he views that, and this is actually a better, much, much more accessible, better way to describe learn from your failures, isn't it? Because when something bad happens or it hurts, dig into that and think about it and reflect on it. And think about what you do differently next time, and then don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah, don't fall into the insanity cycle. What is it? Do something wrong once, and you're just silly. You're stupid. Do something wrong twice, you are you're ignorant. You're naive. And do something wrong 3 times in a row, then you've gone insane. I've completely botched that up.
Yeah, I like your attempt. It's good. Not as snappy as the real quote, but that's all right. Feel that pain, reflect on that, and progress.
See now after having screwed that right up, I'm going to reflect, and next episode, I'm going to bring that quote into the next episode.
That's right.
I'm going to smash it out to begin with.
Yeah.
But he sees pain as not being a negative thing. He sees pain as being a blessing
and
something to lean into.
He also links it to an emotion, right, or a feeling. Like pain is a feeling or an emotion. I think this is where his meditation stuff comes in. Is that once you can recognize that in yourself, you can stop yourself and go, "Oh, I'm feeling this." That might, and intellectually I know I've got to lean into this and actually figure it out instead of just subconsciously shying away from the pain for whatever it is about, which is kind of interesting too. What's one thing that you will change because of this book, or you probably have changed because it's been a long time since we've read it?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Is actually writing down the principles.
Yeah.
Actually put them down on paper, put them somewhere that they can be challenged, or put them somewhere that you can challenge them, or that you can remember them, or when you want to talk about them, you can easily recall them. I think that's number one. Number two, Dalio has set the benchmark in terms of principles. So now, as I said at the start of the episode, I do not feel anywhere near as out there as what I did in terms of sort of process type thinking.
Yeah.
And then the other piece was, and I think this maybe comes from that sort of mindful nature that you're talking about. I think maybe is a part instigator, but recognizing when that pain triggers and leaning into it, not pulling back.
Cool.
Because I think that's the crux, and certainly that pain plus, reflection equals progress. That can't happen if you don't see the pain.
Yeah.
And then if you don't lean into the pain. That's cool. What about you?
I think the biggest thing I've done is start reflecting more and trying to be more open about and honest with myself about different things, the way I'm acting or doing, and trying to see things objectively. Really work on that reflection piece, I think. That's the one thing I've done. Has there
been any sort of notable examples that, ways you used to act versus now how you do act in a situation?
I think that that's a tricky question. Absolutely. What exactly that is, I think definitely, certainly sometimes I would feel like I would be, I'm really valuing, I'd put work in certain situations over my personal life sometimes, and realizing that didn't really align with how I actually valued things. I've switched that up quite a lot. Probably more subtle things. I wouldn't say I was a workaholic or anything, but if I need, I would never take a sick day. Whereas now I'm like, if I'm sick, no one wants me at work anyway, so I'm going to stay home. Or if there's something important going on, or even if it's not like life or death, I'll take the day off and deal with it, And trying to realign that a little bit was probably one of the big ones for me. So,
and that's a really interesting one, right? Because that whole sick day thing, no one else wants you there. No. You don't want to be making people sick. The reason you still go to work is there's this sort of concern about how others think,
but I think it's partly that thinking. For me, it's like thinking that the whole world's going to crash down if I'm not there. No, everyone's fine.
Still going. It's doing its thing.
They're smart people. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that important. Fuck. It's kind of like, hey, that's the ego. You got to dumb that down. So, and the control freak. So, but it's a good journey. If you really embrace some of this stuff, I'm still trying to, but
Hey, that's continual.
It's a good continual journey.
I'm actually excited to reread the book.
I think I'm going to reread it.